Thank you very much, everyone, for having me today. What Amanda didn't mention was I actually started my career as a teenager in housekeeping at the Balmoral. And if you told teenage Irene when she was cleaning the ashtrays, yes, I'm that old, and putting the little Rocco 40 stamp on them while trying to spot celebrities during the festival, I don't think she would believe she'd be speaking to you today. So thanks very much for having me. What I was going to talk to you today is I'm going to talk about two bits of research that Expedia Group have done within the last 6 months, which is the Travel Recovery Trend Report and the Traveller Value Index. So these are all online. You can access these. And then I'll finish off with just a few search trends that we're seeing for the Edinburgh market. You probably know who the Expedia Group are. I was impressed there that Gordon also said that travel was a force for good. That's our mission statement. I thought it was just because our C-suite are massive Star Wars fans. I must say I was delighted that they decided to choose Ewan McGregor to do our advertising, because I was hoping that subliminally more people would come to Scotland off the back of it. We are a platform. That's a very trendy word. But what I wanted to share for this audience was just to recap that we power over 200 travel sites, and we're in 70 countries. So every time I hear of new air links coming into Scotland, I'm delighted, because I believe we'll bring more international travel into Edinburgh. One thing that's really key is how much data that we have, and what we try and do through our tools, whether that's Partner Central for any of the hotel partners here. I have seen a few familiar faces. We have lots of data which the hotel partners can use to make decisions on what is best to try and drive that business. The Travel Recovery Trend Report was done about 3-4 months ago. And there was 4 key statements, and that was that there is an appetite for travel, and it was continuing to grow. So there was an increase of people who were looking to travel. We are starting to see the search windows lengthen globally, and there is a sustained demand for long haul. So when those air routes do open, we do see that demand coming. But domestically, it is very much looking at kind of vacation rental, but there is also demand for frequent domestic trips. This graph shows you how those search volumes very much increased at the beginning of the year. What I wanted you to take away, that it's really EMEA and LATAM who were the real key hunters looking for that international demand, but APAC and America weren't much far behind. If again, for this slide, if you're looking at how travellers were searching for further out international trips, you still see that even the booking window is very short when people want to commit to booking, but those booking windows are growing. So people are looking further out. There is that wish to travel in the future. This information, what the trends that I wanted you to take away for is there is still very much this last minute look, and the 40% of people are looking in within the 31 days, but that is much smaller percentage than it was 6 months prior. Domestic searches are very last minute. You'll know that in your figures. Then the 60% are looking in the 0 to 21 windows. But also international people are booking very last minute as well. But again, that is dropping as well. The second piece of research that I wanted to talk to you about was the Traveller Value Index. This piece of research Expedia Group have been doing since the pandemic began, and they're updating it every 6 months. 5,500 survey respondents are interviewed, and they're in the countries listed below: Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Mexico, the UK, and the US. Putting into context, we understand that the average internet user spends about 100 days online. And that's a lot of eyes. Now, they're not just on Expedia, unfortunately, but it's a lot of people looking for travel, and a lot of that is for people searching for travel. What our research has shown is 81% of travellers intend to take that big vacation with family and friends in the first half of 22. There is that demand. Now, obviously, there's not the connectivity yet, but they are looking to make that big trip. Also relevant for Edinburgh is we also see that of domestic travellers, they're wanting to make lots of frequent short trips. So most 78% of travellers are wanting to make lots of short trips. This ties into what Alice has said earlier about travellers are also looking to spend more. So 54% of travellers are planning to spend more. We see that in the ADRs that people are prepared to pay, not only in Edinburgh, but elsewhere in the UK. So people do want to spend more, and they really are happy to splurge. Talking about the sustainability theme, 3 in 5 travellers are willing to pay additional fees to be more sustainable. And 49% said that they would choose a less crowded destination to reduce the effects of over-tourism. So the themes throughout today have all been about sustainability, and you can feel that in the research that we've done. Here at the local team, we've done a lot of work with Visit Scotland and as part of the UNESCO Sustainable Travel Pledge, making sure that sustainable travel is a key message for travel to Edinburgh. We work with the Green Tourism Authority, and properties that work with us that have a sustainable credential, that is shown on the website. You can filter by it. And it's really it's something that increasingly is becoming important to convert for properties. Talking about the international travel rebound, over a third of travellers surveyed said they expected to book an international trip in the next 6 months. And 70% of business travel said they were at least somewhat likely to fly internationally, compared to only 43% of leisure travellers. I can say myself, when I look at my diary for the next 3 months, I literally don't have a spare week where I'm not travelling. If I'm not travelling, it's because my husband's travelling, and whether it's trips to America, trips to Dublin, trips to London, trips to Manchester. So business travel very much feels like it's coming back. I started travelling again back in November to Germany, to Dublin. So I think that business travel, there is a bit more confidence. So hopefully we'll see more of that in the months ahead. This is just highlighting some of the work that we did during the pandemic with Visit Scotland. The work that we have done, we are absolutely sure has driven more domestic demand and international demand to Scotland. Some of the data that I've seen internally has seen that domestic demand and searches for Scotland has been sustained. We've done a lot around sustainability, and we've been working hand in hand to make sure that Scotland had far more visibility than other destinations that were open for business. So we're happy with the work that we're doing there, and we'll continue to work with Visit Scotland to drive more business to Scotland. Travellers are taking to the skies, so 60% of travellers are planning to travel by airplane within the next year. And 70% of the air travellers are saying they want to take longer trips as opposed to shorter trips. So hopefully, as the connectivity with international flights increases, we'll see more people. One thing that I've seen from reports that I have access to is how many people who look for Edinburgh have also searched for a gateway city which has airlift. So as you'd expect, the likes of London, but also the likes of Amsterdam, Dubai, of people trying to come to Edinburgh. These are the destinations they're looking for when they're looking for Edinburgh as well. Road trips will prevail very much for the North Americans within North America, but I think also for domestic trips within the UK. I think also for what we saw was 7 out of 10 travellers plan to take a car trip. That works for us for the hotels at the end of the city centre. But I think what we will see is that what we're seeing in the data that we know for Edinburgh is people are making those frequent, short domestic trips. So lastly, going on to some of the Edinburgh market trends. This is search data for the next 12 months. And as you'd expect, there is a lot of search data for the month within the month and conversion there as well. But there is business right on the books all the way through until February next year. Other information that I'd call out is when people are looking for autumn, what we're seeing is very much that the package business of Flight Plus Hotel is really converting strongly from September onwards. And also what we're seeing is in terms of mobile bookings. So the younger profile, within the short booking window is mobile, but it's also those people that are looking far out are looking on mobile. But for the high peak summer months, they're booking on desktops. So it's really important that people are thinking of all the channels that they're aware of and where they are in terms of ranking. If we look at booking windows, this is, again, search data. We can see there's that big drive in the 31 to 60 days and the 121 days. So it does, again, if you think of the funnel, people are looking to book. The spring demands is strong, but also to the end of the year. But the majority of business is still within the next 31 days. No surprises here, people still want refundable bookings. Most of the business is refundable, so as much as everybody wants to capture that non-refundable business, refundable is the way forward and is what converts. And I appreciate I'm between you and a glass of wine, so you'll be pleased to know that there's only a couple of slides left. Where are the travellers coming from? So again, this is search data last 28 days. 38% of it is domestic from the UK, but 33% of Americans. 5% are Canadians, this was before we heard about the new Air Canada flight. 2% from Germany, 2% from Sweden. And the rest is from the rest of the world. In terms of traveller characteristics, most of the business that's coming into Edinburgh from Expedia are couples, 63% are couples, but we also have a large amount of groups. Singles we can pretty much estimate is business travel, as I talked to before, but also 8% of families. I would say, for anybody in the room, I looked to take my young son to London recently, and when I looked for one adult and one child, there was a lot less on offer than if I looked for two adults. So it's always good to have a look and see how you appeal to families. So I'm going to wrap up here I've told you about the information on the traveller recovery trend, the traveller value index, which you can access more data online. And then a few bits about the Edinburgh travel market. But I think it's about focusing on who are the first to travel. As you know, the younger people are less scared of COVID, which was mentioned in one of the earlier presentations. But there are families who are wanting to travel, and people are looking at many different types of channels before they book. And I think it's about putting yourself in the traveller's shoes. You know, I think, as we've always said, it's important that the content is as strong and relevant and that you still remain as flexible as possible. Please use all the tools that are available to keep in touch with people, reassure people of what that guest experience has been. And I think, again, talking to what Scott was saying earlier about Virgin Hotels, I think just those recommendations, that local insight, that authentic experience is what will continue to convert. And I'm delighted to say you're closer to your wine now. Thanks.